Welcome everyone, how are you? My name is Fred Nyamhunga, and today I'm going to take you through the unit called Manage Workforce Planning. And I hope you enjoyed the previous webinars, and I can truly say, speaking for myself, that I'm enjoying this series, and you're going to love and enjoy what you're going to discuss today. Let's get into it. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm sharing screen with you now. Let's get this started. Let's get this going. Right, share screen, and this is what we want to do. Right, hope you're all there. Manage workforce planning. We're going to try and cover assessment 1 and 2, and I want you to bear with me, and I might try and speak a little bit much faster because we've got a lot of material to cover, and I just want you to pay attention and close attention to what I'm saying. Have your pen and paper ready, and have your LMS open, and I want you to have your assessment right in front of you, and as we begin just to take off and fly, and just bear with this. And again, just one thing, before you actually begin to listen to these webinars, you should read the assessment. You should read the case study so that it will be easier for you to follow as we wrap through it. Okay, let's go. Without much further ado, let's discuss what is today's purpose. Today's purpose is for me to break down this unit into smaller pieces and give you a background understanding of what the things that we might need to do or that you might need to know. And so as you go through here, with your looking at the questions, look at the questions if you have your workbook. As I break it down, take down some notes so that you don't lose any of the things we want to talk about. So how will this session run? What this session run is, I'll take you through straight direct to the first question, and we just want to go through it, discuss it, give you some little bit of information on how you should answer, what the areas, the things we should think about, and we talk about critical thinking. I want you to think outside the box. I want you to imagine yourself as being right in this scenario, right in the thick of things that are taking place in these councils. And so, like I said, for you to get the best out of the webinars, have your workbook open, have your LMS open, have your assessment open, have a pen and paper to jot down some few notes or some of those things that you might think, hey, I didn't hear this clearly. You know, you have the benefit of rewinding and replaying as many times as you want, all right? So if I'm moving very fast, you know, don't be offended or whatever. Now, what's going to happen after the webinar? After the webinar is you're going to do the assessment. You're going to open the assessment and start saying, okay, this is what I've had. This is what I've been told. Let me do it. So when you finish, if you're not sure about it, call your mentor. Text, send an email, say, hey, I read this is what I've done, is this correct, can you let me know, check it for me. Fantastic. Right, okay, let's get started. So for us to get started now, I'm going to take you to the unit. Let's go. And we're going to have to share with you my workbook. Right, there you go. So I say this is a new share, and this is the workbook, and I got you. This is what we have now. Okay, so the first question, critically analyze the pre-amalgamation workforce data in the autumn council and spring council. What is it telling us? So what we're saying is, in the scenario there, we have information that we want you to analyze and reference the numerical data like the percentages, you know, the percentages of men, percentages of women, percentages of minorities. Those are the figures that we actually want you to give us. Male and female ratios, what are the ratios? And that was pre-amalgamation, right? And also want you to understand, what does amalgamation mean? Amalgamation means the merger, the coming together of these two councils. So when these two councils come together, that's called amalgamation. Companies do merger, you know, 2, 3 companies, maybe they share resources, maybe they want to strengthen themselves, and they do this for different strategies. So that's what we want. Give us some data. Give us some statistics. Tell us the numbers about the workforce, right? Just the workforce. And I mean, if you want to give us a background of what each council was doing and, you know, how big the population was, the population male and female, that's great. That's just going to give you more kudos. Question number 2, detail and discuss 3 possible reasons for staff turnover in the councils. Right, the story of this council. is you had two councils, autumn and spring. Autumn council's economy was reliant on mining. Spring council reliant on grazing and agriculture. So what happened? Autumn council, the mining boom came to an end. Commodity prices of mining went down the tube. The miners were not getting the price they wanted for their commodities. And therefore, as a result, they were losing money. What does that mean? That means the costs were higher than actually the money they were making. So as a result, they had to let some of the workers go. And some of those workers that live in Autumn Council, of course, they're breadwinners. And so how does the council revenue, where does it come from? Council revenue comes from the rates that we pay, because the council provides us services, for instance, your sewage, your waste collection, your cleaning, and all those things, the planning that the council does, demarcation of roads and the maintenance of all those things that are beautiful in our councils. That money comes from us, the ratepayers, the people that live in the council, because we pay for those services. Now, those people were retrenched, they had lost their jobs, and so they were in arrears. They could not pay. As a result, the council now was running short of funds. The same thing happened to Spring Council. Spring Council was reliant, it was an agricultural-based council. So when there was a drought and the grazing dried and agriculture really came to a slow end, and what happened? These two councils looked at each other and said, what can I do for you? Well, I might use the hospital. So some of people of Autumn Council are being taken to the Spring Hospital. And they started sharing resources like the airport, the port, and the harbor. In the end, they realized, hey, for them to actually live a much better, financially secure and strong councils running strong business, they had to combine their resources and fine-tune them. This is what they decided. So when they merged Spring and Autumn, they formed a council called Summer. And in the process of the merger, obviously, if they had each council had two engineers or they had two auditors, when they come together, they had to let some people go. They had to really streamline it and cut it down to the bone to make it really as efficient, lean, and efficient council is what they were looking for. And as a result of that, some people had to be let go, and for those that were made redundant, obviously there's a process that they had to follow. So as a result, these councils managed to achieve what they wanted, that is financial viability. So in number two, we're saying now, we're going to discuss the reasons for staff turnover in these councils. Right, in these councils, you will have read that the majority of the employees, of managers, were Anglo-Saxon background. Now, what does that tell you? And when you look at the population of the councils, it was very multicultural, very high numbers of ethnic groups that lived in there. But those ethnic groups were not represented within the council structures. So as a result, now we say, give us three possible reasons why staff turnover was there in the council. Women, for instance, they were not given any promotion. The people at the top, they were Anglo-Saxon men that were between 50 and 60. What does that tell you? That means these were guys that were almost, looking forward to retirement, and they were still holding on to the jobs. They were not allowing anyone else or any other nationality or females to come closer to those top hierarchy. So what are the reasons? So you obviously, if there's no promotion and you're career oriented, what you do, you go look for greener pastures. And probably for people that are coming from university, what are the things they're looking for? They're looking for training programs, they're looking for career progression, they're looking to develop their skills and sharpen, and from what they've learned at the universities and put it into practice. So if that opportunity didn't exist, obviously they went somewhere else. So, women that were qualified, multi-ethnic people that are qualified, they do not get opportunities, they obviously leave. And well, it could be other things as well. So this is what I want you to read the assessment, the case study, and be able to pick out some nuggets, pick out some of those things that you think affected the employees. And right, so let's go to number three. Outline three strategies that could have been used by the council to help address staff turnover. What do they say? What are the three things the council could have done to stop people leaving the jobs, to stop people leaving the council, to stop people moving away. And look at it this way. What are the things they could have done to keep people in their jobs? What are the things they could have done to make people happy, to make them look forward to coming back to work, to make these people really cherish and nourish and be able to be in their roles and perform efficiently? What could they have done? If you are the employer, think about that. What could you do? Generous leave pay for ladies, generous maternity leave, their family. And those are some of those attractive things. Ladies will look for it. They want to build a family, look and say, well, after maternity, do I have a job to come back to? And young guys, they come and say they've got a future ahead of them. They'll be thinking, well, where can I put my talent to work? Where can I invest my future in? So everybody, come from university, you look and say, well, I want to put my hand to the plow, but which is the company that's willing to give me an opportunity for me to use my creativity and to try those things that I've learned. And so what could they have done to overcome people leaving? Number 4, identify and review summer council's workforce profile and requirements. As part of your discussion, you should comment on the workforce pre and post amalgamation and their needs or requirements. So you got to point out workforce profile, how many people worked in summer council, right? So it was spring and autumn, they merged. What numbers did they come up with? What's the total number? What are the roles that they decided they'll carry forward to? So I want you to look at the new summer council organizational chart, look at the numbers there, and how will this affect the workforce, including autumn and spring? So now, how will this affect? Some people will be let go. Obviously, some would have been unhappy, some were happy that were staying in behind. What do you think post-amalgamation, after they've come together? They're now lean and sharp. They obviously have other new people from outside that had not been before the merger and that would have been recruited. So how will this affect? I want you to use your critical thinking. I really want you to delve into this. I want you to think outside the box. I really want you to challenge yourselves. All right, so number 1, when you look at here, outline and discuss 3 strategies that could be used to retain the existing skilled labor. What strategy could they use to retain people? Maybe flexible working arrangement? I don't know. What is it that could make you stay at a company? Think of yourself. What are the things that they're looking for? Is it more pay? Is it maybe you want a team bonding activities? Or maybe you want to be recognized for your creative ideas, or you want to be rewarded better. Research tells us it's not only about money. We have people that earn a lot of money, but they still leave their jobs. What is it that you would want or that you would expect an employer to do for you to keep you interested in the company? Number 2, identify and define 3 objectives that summer council can engage to help secure workforce diversity. So what are the things that summer council can do to secure workforce diversity? All right. What ideas could they come up with? So you got to start looking, what is workforce diversity? Workforce diversity, we're talking here about multiculturalism, the policy of inclusion. We're talking about having the tolerance to work with people and appreciate other people that do not look like you, talk like you, eat like you, believe like you, think like you. But probably you discover there's quite a lot of enriching experiences that other people can bring to the table. And those are the people that bring to the table, the things that they bring in are very beneficial to the organization and very beneficial to, obviously, the business and beneficial to the success of meeting the goals and objectives of what the council would have put in place. And so to get there, those 3 things that can do to ensure this, we'll probably maybe have a policy, diversity policy, right? And what will that policy entail? That policy will really be encouraging heads of department to go out there and employ people that reflect the diversity of their customers. Your customer base these days is so diverse to the extent that your workforce is very diverse, to the extent that you yourself will probably have to be able to say to yourself, now, what can I do, or what can I bring to the fore that my diverse customers can fully appreciate and understand, and what are the things that you might do so that they can link with you and that they can begin to appreciate that, well, everybody wants to be appreciated. And so for you as an employer, those are the areas that you probably need to be thinking of and to say, what does my customer base want? What are the customers thinking? Look at companies like McDonald's. Before, when a McDonald's started in America, they didn't have all the various types of foods that meet the cultural diversity worldwide. I mean, think of halal foods. There was never anything like that when McDonald's started. And think of the KFC. Now they got even piri-piri kind of food that they have. Why? You got also vegetarian and non-vegetarian in most of the McDonald's, most of the international fast food market. Why? It's all trying to meet the diverse part of their customers. Right, listen, discuss 3 strategies that Summer Council can engage to source skilled labor. What can they do to source skilled labor? Obviously, you might use the internet, your seek.com.au. They might go probably into the printing press. They might maybe use blogs. They might want to use maybe LinkedIn, word of mouth. These days with social media, wow. I mean, to get someone from Western Australia to work in Queensland is very easy. So you're saying the Summer Council now, they want to hire the best that they can get from the market. They want to create really a world-class, efficient service. And in order to do that, you need skilled labor, you need committed people, you need dedicated employees. And of course, that takes a lot of time, and that takes a lot of policies that have to be changed so that we are all in agreement. And detail 3 communication strategies that could be engaged to communicate workforce changes to the council. So how are you going to communicate these changes that are taking place? You are an autumn council, if you're in charge, how do you communicate to your employees that, hey, we're going for a merger, and during this merger, some of you are going to lose those jobs. Some of you will be redeployed, but there's no guarantee that when you apply, the new person may get it. Because right now, you're going to be using, the best on merit. So how do you communicate that message? And in what forms? Do you use your one-on-one? Do you use email? Do you have departmental meetings? Do you use like town hall meetings where probably every month you're going to be explaining and communicating? Do you use your company website to communicate these things? So what are the ways you think you would want to be communicated to? If that was happening in your company, if you're being affected, what are the ways you would prefer your boss to communicate with you? Think about that and just think, well, it could be you or you could be the boss. What would be the best way? Think outside the box, like I mentioned. And what action should the council human resources managers take to secure the agreement of the staff to the workforce changes? So what we're saying is, you got these changes that are taking place, you are going to go through a merger. And when you amalgamate, you want to know that your employees are on board. So now you want the surety that, yes, this employee is with me, that employee is with me, that employee has given me their word. What do you do? Think about your phone these days. When they updates, what are the things they send you? At the bottom it's like, do you agree? If you agree, tick, and you get an update. Anything that we sign up these days, you could say, are you in agreement with this? So you could probably use have some written forms, some written arrangements, some written agreement. Maybe you want to record something, whichever way. You're the HR. Think outside the box. How will you ensure that you have their word, that they're happy to go through these changes? Now, and the next one will be number 5, in capacity as the HR manager spring council, what action would you take when a staff member spreads rumors that the current staff are to be sacked and forget the new role? Because now this is a really a common thing that takes place. It doesn't matter where you work and what you do. Whenever there's going to be an amalgamation, some people are going to be redundant, or if a company has been sold, the new management is coming in, there's going to be rumors flying all over the place. And there are people that will cook up stories. It doesn't matter sometimes how much truth is in front of them, but you have characters that will just cook up a story. And then you also, not only a character that cooks up a story, you have a character that buys the stories has been cooked, even though official word says something else, and someone just laughed to the front and touch. And so the question is, if you have met one of those guys and this comes up to your table, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, hey, you come here, this is wrong, you fire? Are you going to bring the hammer and throw the book at them? No, that's not going to work. They're just going to say, I told you so. See? So what you need to do is you might want to call the person and have a chat. You want to find out where the rumors are emanating from. You just want to find out who's running a parallel HR department to you. So obviously that would be a very key thing that you want to do. Have a chat, find out. And when you talk to somebody who's been spreading stuff in the grapevine, bring the facts up Friday. Make sure you've got the facts to back you up. Set the record straight and do it in a professional manner, do it in a caring manner, and from a point of concern that the person is being misled. It could be true that they've genuinely been misled, or they could simply be some trickster. But as an HR manager, you've got to have your head really straight thinking. Now, okay, let's go to the next Part C, workforce initiatives and implementation. So number 1 says, outline and discuss the core HR strategies and activities associated with restructure, redeployment, redundancy, and organization. So what are the activities that are involved in this? So if we're going to break this down, say restructure, overhaul the business. That means now you're going to have a new organizational chart, where probably you have 2 general managers, maybe you have 3 engineers. So now you restructure, you need to come up with a new organizational chart and say to everyone, this is what we are going to have. These are the roles that are going to be here. And those roles should have their descriptions, they should have reporting hierarchy, and those roles should spell out exactly the responsibilities, the KPIs, so that in the new roles, everyone can look and say, okay, now, can I fit in or I can't fit in? And the number of employees you're going to have. And when you redeploy your employees, you probably need to explain to them that redeployment, what does it mean? Maybe being sent to another department. You could have been working in finance and they say, well, maybe we're now going to send you to the customer service. Or you could have been working in another service delivery department and maybe you're doing archiving. Or you're doing the ROS department. Now maybe you're going to the traffic department. So that's a redeployment, and that redeployment might carry different responsibilities, different duties, reporting hierarchies, a different set of KPIs. And so those are the things that need to be spelled out. And in some cases, one cannot be redeployed. That means maybe your skills are no longer required, and maybe the role that we have, that job has been taken out all of, could be maybe chief accountant, and you're no longer going to have a chief accountant. And maybe you're an auditor, and the council is no longer going to have internal auditor. Maybe now there will be sort of subcontracting the auditing or subcontracting some of the accounts. So it can be redeployed. And when you're making staff redundant, what you're going to do, you need to talk to them. You need to explain the process of redundancy. And when it comes to redundancy, we want to know how much money am I taking home? Why am I being made redundant? And will I get another job? There are all those fears. What if I don't get another job and the money that I get here runs out? Or maybe I don't have any other skills. The only skill that I have is here in the council. And you've got to appreciate that in council there's certain, probably say, careers that are not common in the commercial business market. For instance, fixing traffic lights. the only one set of traffic lights, and those are run by the state. And so if you do not have another skill that is transferable to another business, you will really be thinking very hard, what am I going to do after this? So that is where now you as an employee come in, you do your counseling, maybe the cross-skilling, maybe the person needs a whole new set of skills, maybe they need to go for training, and maybe somewhere outside, and to find out what are the things they want to do in their lives, what are the things they cherish the most, maybe those are the areas we want to focus on. And HR manager, number 2 there, is counsel, detail the actions you take for the recruitment and training of new employees. Yes, if you're recruiting new employees and training them more, what sort of actions would you take? Oh, obviously, you're going to advertise, you're going to set a KPIs, you're going to talk about your policy, you're going to create an induction booklet and induction policies, so that when you're recruiting, you've got your new parameters, what are the things you're looking for, you're hiring on merit, you're no longer discriminating men, women, you're no longer discriminating on age, you're no longer discriminating on color, you're no longer discriminating on religious beliefs or anything else. That was done in the pre-amalgamation councils. So think outside the box, some of those strategies, what are the strategies you could use? And then strategies you would engage to assist the council staff deal with organizational change. So obviously, when you do your communication, some of them will need to be counseling, some of them need to retrain their thinking, recalibrate them, and refocus on the new life that they're going to have, and new beginnings that they're going to have. And so you're going to have strategies to say, look, is a change that's happening. Well, people will be sad, some people will cry, some people will be heartbroken, and they'll go through the stages, of mourning and they mourn the past, and there's always the fear of the future, and you have to take that fear of the future out. And so we're asking you, what are you going to do to help them cope with these changes? What would you need if you were in that situation? What would you need for your employer to do to help you cope with that? Counseling services, having a chat with somebody, and talking it out, and talking your fears, or knowing that I have the necessary qualifications to move forward, knowing that there is life outside the council. What would you do? And so what is meant by the term workforce diversity? Identified 3 HR strategies to encourage workforce diversity goals and the summer council. So workforce diversity, what does diversity mean? Including all the cultural representation of the council, sort of working in a diversified workforce, people from diverse backgrounds, having a policy of inclusion, policy of multiculturalism, accepting other people from different backgrounds, and being tolerant of one another and respecting their values. They may be anathema to you, but that's their values, and being able to understand and say, we live now in this global village, with all this plethora of ideas and creativity and people from different backgrounds. Those are the ones that make the customer base. That's your customer base. So you can't ignore them. So what you're going to do is being able to have employees in your work that reflect their thinking, that reflect who they are, that reflect their values, that reflect the things that are dear to them. So what would you do? I would, have a diversity policy, have a policy of inclusion, have even these days you can actually train and run programs in your workplace, programs about diversity, teaching people about learning to include each other, bonding sessions, and have team meetings, and have maybe even speakers from different backgrounds, explaining where they come from, explaining their values, and what we could benefit from them. Number 5, identify and discuss factors in the HR division should take into account when implementing a succession plan. Hey, what's a succession plan? Succession plan, what are you talking about? The word speaks for itself. That means if you have a chief executive or a chief engineer, if something happens to the chief engineer, if he ends up in hospital or is hospitalized for a long space of time, is the work going to stop? Is the council going to stop? So what you're saying is, do you have a strategy of who's going to step in whose shoes if something happens to them? If those guys, we're talking about Anglo-Saxons that are in their 50s, if they retire, do you have qualified personnel with the capacity to walk in and continue with the work they've been doing? Do you have that process of continuity if somebody gets retired? So that's what we talk on succession planning. And that's why you find most companies have graduate programs, young people that come from university, they come in either they do apprenticeships, they go through graduate programs, they are learning from senior people, experienced people that have been there for a long time. They know the corners of everything that happens there. They've got the knowledge on their fingertips, and you have the theoretical knowledge from the college. So combine that, your knowledge that you've come, that you have the latest knowledge that is on the market, included together with the experience of people that have been in the trenches, that have been doing the work for the last 10, 20 years. That's very enriching, having that passed down to another generation, and that this new generation coming in with a lot of technological know-how. So what are you doing about it? Are you training people? Are you creating career paths? Are you having programs to develop your people? Do you have personal development plans and trainings and seminars? Do they go for workshops? What are the things that you're doing to encourage succession planning? Do you have deputies? Do you have assistants, assistant engineers? Do you have like a deputy CEO? And so that when the time comes, that person has to step in. How well prepared is he? How well knowledgeable is he about the next job that his senior is doing? And so number 6, you are the HR manager and you've got to be appointed to the summer council. And one of the requirements is, in their terms of contract, is to make this new summer council an employer of choice. What are the things you're going to do? And you ask yourself, what is an employer of choice? Simply, an employer of choice is that employer that everybody wants to work for. For example, everybody wants to work for Google. Everybody wants to work for Facebook. Everybody wants to work for Microsoft. You know, what are the things that these companies are doing that everyone wants to work for them? What rewarding systems do they have in place that, you know, people clamor to go work for them? Is it the salary? Is it the working arrangements? Is it the flexibility? Is it the freedom to share their ideas, their creativity? And so you got to say to yourself, for us as a council, what is it that we can do to become an employer of choice? Maybe you might go into training programs, personal development. Again, remember, it's not all about money. Research has shown us that money is not the be and end all for a lot of people. And there are people that earn quite tons of money, but they still leave the job because it's stressful. So what are the things you're going to do to make yourself an employer of choice? All right, let's look at now. And what is the next thing here? Part D, workforce monitoring and evaluation. And says, outline and discuss how you go about monitoring spring council staffing requirements. So yes, you know, you've had this measure, people from autumn have come in and spring have come in, you know, in summer, they say, how are you going to monitor? You know, whether they are doing well, whether they're not happy, are they happy, are they not? Are you going to do a survey? Are you going to check the absenteeism? Are you going to check how they're, whether they're meeting their KPIs? Is it a sign of happiness, or they're struggling meeting their KPIs? Are you going to probably continue to have meetings to find out how effective this it's working? And are you going to have some feedback columns or feedback opportunities? What are the things you could do? Think from a whole range of the ones that I've said. And number 2A is prepare a 15 question survey aimed at surveying spring council worker satisfaction. So your survey would include, you know, from 1 to 10. how happy are you here? 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. And you could pick a number and say, well, my level of satisfaction is at number 6 or number 7. And you could have questions like, what is it that we could have done to enable for this transition to be smooth? Or what is it that we can do now, to make your life much more easier and to make you happy in your workplace? And you could have questions like, hey, if you knew that this was going to be, would you have stayed? That is, if it's a person who stayed from the previous council, you'd be asking, would you have stayed? Some of them might say, well, if I had known this is how it is, maybe I would have left. But you want to do a survey in order to find out their customer satisfaction. And number 3, research current trends on demand for labor in regional areas, and as part of your research include the following factors. Changes in technology. I love this one. Right, in regional areas, they start talking about farmers. You got a fruit farmer that grows apples, and before technology, you'll probably hire 20 people to go pick his fruit from the farm so that it doesn't rot or get eaten by insects and so forth. And to avoid the fruits perishing, you'll hire many people to go pick the fruit, and send it out to the markets. Now, with technology, where probably 30, 40 people do the job, the guy might just have one combined harvester, So you would have a technology now, you've got now machines that can do fruit picking. And think about road department, road maintenance. Think about mining, where 20, 30 years ago, you probably need maybe 20, 40 miners, people digging holes in the ground, shoveling the gravel onto wheelbarrows and pushing wheelbarrows to some dump site. Now you got one big, huge truck that just it digs and it throws the dust on its back. So now you got the technology of machines that are doing the work of 20 people. So those 20 people that would have been doing those jobs, where are they? So those are the changes in technology. And another change in technology you might want to look at is you could be working here in Sydney for a mining company in Western Australia. So again, that helps in that technology has enabled these companies to actually have employees that could be anywhere in the world and still meet the criteria and still meet the job. You could be a consultant, you don't have to be there. You can be an accountant, you don't have to be right on the mining site. You can do out of here, and with the help of technology, like as we're communicating through webinars, you could be communicating having video conferences, and information these days is stored on cloud. Competition for workers. Yes, regional workers are constantly competing for workers, and it is really a dire situation in that qualified people, skilled people, do not see opportunities of working or advantages of working in regional areas. For instance, if it's a family person, it's got children, be thinking, well, if I go and work out there in the regional areas, where will my children go to school? Do they have kindergarten? After they finish school, can they get jobs? Even for himself, if you think, well, if I go and work out somewhere there in Orange, in a company, and if that job dries up, what are the opportunities of me getting another job? And again, in this world of networking, a lot of people, hence then they prefer to work in big cities, because the security is that if that job dries, there's an opportunity to get another. For family people, their families can grow in a bigger society. There's a variety of schooling and activities that their kids can get involved in. And so when competing for workers, the companies in the regional areas really have to go out of their way to offer people the program, to go out of their way to offer the will-be employees either a higher rate, offer them something that the urban dwellers are not being offered by companies in urban areas. Again, economic conditions in regional areas have been affected generally by drought, get affected like in mining with the mining boom, and it's all dependent on the commodity prices worldwide, and therefore they're constantly changing. And those economic conditions are not conducive for maybe other companies to go there and have a long-term investment, or even for employees to go there and seek for permanent jobs. And there are a lot of industry changes. Take, for instance, without talking about technology as well, these changes in technology have really changed the landscape in how people work in the regional areas and their communication with their head offices, where probably people end up flying across the country. These days, they can just do a video conference. They can share documents online. They can even sign documents from one place to another. And, they can communicate much easier, much faster. Decisions are made quickly. And so generally, it's also an enhancement and an improvement in working and increasing business profitability. And when you talk of market trends, you look at, say, when we talk of market trends, we talk of the products and services that come on the market. How fast changing are they? How fast changing is our world today? And even as marketers and companies that are out there, they'll be thinking, how can I can use these resources to tap into my customer base? How can I get my goods to those customers within specified time? Take, for instance, online shopping. Right, you could have a company right out in the outback there, and you could be selling goods, and you don't even have to have a physical shop. People communicate with you online, they buy the goods online, it gets delivered to wherever they are. And so these are the market trends, so the market is going to. And so obviously, and even in regional areas, they might not have to drive into the city to look for goods, they just go online and purchase their goods. So yes, do a research on that. There's quite a lot of material when you look at the regional development, what the plan the government has to sort of alleviate the labor shortages in the regional areas. They've got a major scheme that they've come up with, and like in Parliament, they were discussing of, having more training in regional areas for skilled labor, preparing people from a younger age to be able to be employed, and creating that availability and encouraging companies to make long-term investment in those regional areas. So maybe companies being given incentives to go out there and build plants. And yeah, I think we're getting closer to, this is our assessment too. So obviously now when we look at this as a wrap up to what we've been discussing, let's just go back to our slide and where we can do a recap. Let's go now to slide. And just as a recap here, remember there were two councils, autumn and spring, and all these autumn and spring, what happened? They were suffering the same financial constraints. The dying of the mining boom, the dying of the grazing agricultural lands, and brought these two councils to their financial needs. And as a result, for them to survive, they realized they have to come together and share the resources. And within that process, some people had to lose jobs, some people were redeployed, and also that was an opportunity for the council to redesign itself, have new policies like diversity policy, policies of inclusion, begin to hire people on merit, and begin to have maybe create career progressions. It was an opportunity for them to look at their reward system, like how does people get rewarded, what are the things people are looking for. It was also an opportunity for the companies to be able to say, how can we make ourselves an employer of choice? What are the things we need to include to be attractive to skilled labor outside? What are the things or the carrots we can use to dangle for people to run through and apply and work with us? And they also have to look at strategies for their employee retention. How can we keep the workers here? How can we keep them interested in working for us? How can we sort of really capture their imagination and have workers that are, very creative, innovative, and that can continue working with us? And they look again at career progression. How can we have continuity of the council? If people leave, they retire, and for some reason we cannot help them any longer, and how do we create that succession planning? How can we create that continuity? And hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And what happens from here? What happens from here is obviously, You can call your mentor if you need more details or you finish your assessment and you want to know if it's correct. But if you're confident that you've done the right thing, hey, be brave. Just submit it, and you'll get feedback from our mentors. You get feedback that, hey, you need to readjust this. There might be things that you need to do. And if you have any questions, concerns, email me, give me a call, go to our website, ring our 1300 number. And obviously, each of you that are listening, you have a mentor, get in contact, give a call, text, email, and let us know how you're getting along. Hey, it's been my pleasure. And it's my joy to work with you. And it is my desire that you finish this course, that you succeed, that your goals are met, and that your objectives and that the dreams that you have and the reasons why you joined this course, that those very reasons are achieved and those very purposes are met. Hey, thank you. Good luck. Stay well. And hope to see you soon. Hope to see your assessment. And wish you all the best. Good luck. Thank you, and bye-bye. And